Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a topic that's really at the cutting edge of AI research.
Absolutely.
And it tackles a question I think many of us have been thinking about. Large language models, LLMs, they're getting incredibly good at math.
Yes, stunningly good sometimes. Outperforming humans on tough benchmarks like math and AIM.
Exactly. But here's the central mystery, really. Does that amazing math skill actually make them smarter overall? Does it transfer?
Or is it just, a very specific trick they've learned that doesn't really help with other kinds of thinking?
Right. And that's the core of it.
And it's a critical question, not just academic. It really hits how we train these models, how we apply them.
For everything from, writing emails to complex scientific discovery.
Precisely. Understanding if and how these skills transfer is fundamental to building AI that's genuinely capable and reliable.
Couldn't agree more. And that brings us to this recent research paper, really insightful stuff from Carnegie Mellon, UPenn, and others.
Yes, they really took a hard look at this.
They evaluated, over 20 open-weight reasoning models to try and figure this out. So our mission today is basically to unpack what they found, because some of it's pretty surprising, and figure out what it means for LMs going forward. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So right away, the study finds something that kind of pushes back against a common assumption.
Yeah, the idea that just getting better at math automatically means getting better overall.
Exactly. We see these math leaderboards improving constantly, week by week. Impressive gains. But this research found that most of those models, the ones acing the math tests, they actually fail to transfer those gains to other areas.
Which is a big deal. There's been this narrative, that pushing performance on hard tasks, like math is a straight path to AGI, general intelligence.
Right, that it would just sort of emerge.
But this paper suggests, well, not necessarily. Not if you don't train them the right way. In fact, getting that math skill might even hurt other abilities.
Hurt them. Wow.
Yeah, potentially. It's not just about adding a skill. It's how learning that skill changes the model's whole internal structure. So to test this properly, the researchers looked really broadly.
Okay.
They evaluated models across a whole suite of tasks, grouped into three main buckets. First, the obvious one, math reasoning tasks. The hard benchmarks.
Like Math 500, AME, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Then, other reasoning tasks. This includes things like scientific Q&A, GPQA Diamond, for instance.
Where they have to deduce answers from complex text.
Right, and coding challenges like live code bench, agent planning, even medical reasoning. So still complex reasoning, just not pure math.
Got it. And the third category.
And this is crucial, non-reasoning tasks. This covers more everyday stuff. Conversational understanding like co-QA.
Just following instructions.
Yep, IFE will test that. Detecting factual errors or hallucinations, hallow evil, even understanding time, like the sequence of events in MC Taco, basic general competence.
Okay, so a really wide range of tests. How did they measure the transfer?
They came up with a metric called the transferability index, or TI. Pretty straightforward. Positive TI means skills transferred well. Negative TI means performance actually got worse on other tasks after math training.
Negative TI. So getting better at math made it worse at, say, conversation.
In some cases, yes. Which leads to the really interesting part. They found a key factor that predicted whether transfer happened or not.
What was it?
It came down to how the models were fine-tuned.
The training method.
Exactly. The paper zeroes in on two main approaches. First, you've got supervised fine-tuning, SFT.
Right.
Think of SFT like giving a student solve examples. The model sees the step-by-step solution, the exact reasoning path, and learns to copy it.
Just follow the recipe.
Pretty much. The second method is reinforcement learning, RL. This is more like learning by doing.
Trial and error.
Sort of.
Yeah.
The model tries to solve the problem and it gets rewarded for correct answers or maybe for logically sound steps, but it doesn't see the perfect solution path beforehand. It has to figure more out for itself.
Okay. SFT is copying the answer key. RL is learning by getting points. So what happened when they compared these?
This was the key finding. RL-tuned models were much, much better at generalizing their math gains to non-math tasks.
Really?
Yeah. SFT models, on the other hand, often showed signs of what's called catastrophic forgetting.
Catastrophic forgetting. Sounds bad.
It is. They got so good at math, they actually got worse at other things they used to be able to do. Like they forgot their general knowledge.
Wow. It's like cramming for one exam so hard you forget everything else.
That's a good analogy, actually. It seems LLMs can suffer from that too if you use SFT too heavily for specialized skills. To really prove this, they did a controlled experiment.
Head-to-head.
Exactly. Same base model, Quinn 314b, tuned only on a high-quality math data set. One version got SFT, the other got RL. Same data, different training technique.
And the results?
Really clear. On math reasoning, the RL model, they called it Unireason Quinn 314b RL, generally did better than the SFT model.
Better even at the math itself?
Often, yes. And on other reasoning tasks, science, coding, etc., SFT was uneven, but RL gave significant boosts, like 17% better on coding challenges compared to the SFT version.
Okay, impressive. But what about the non-reasoning stuff, the general knowledge?
That's where it got really stark. The SFT models often just flatlined, or even declined. They showed those negative transferability index values we talked about.
So they actually got dumber at general tasks.
Effectively, yes. But the RL model, it didn't just avoid the drop, it actually improved on the base model's performance across almost all those non-reasoning tests. Positive transfer.
Okay, wait. Same math data, but SFT makes the model worse at general stuff, while RL makes it better everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah.
How? Why the huge difference?
Good question. That's what the researchers dug into next, using some diagnostic tools. The first was latent space PCA.
PCA, Principal Component Analysis.
Right. It's a way to kind of visualize the model's internal thought space, how it organizes concepts and knowledge. PCA helps see if the training is causing huge shifts, like rearranging the entire mental filing cabinet.
Or just making small tweaks.
Exactly. Small shifts suggest the core knowledge is stable. Big shifts suggest it's being fundamentally disrupted.
And what did the PCA show?
It showed that SFT caused major shifts, significant drift in that internal space, especially when the model was thinking about non-reasoning problems.
So learning math via SFT basically scrambled its understanding of other things.
That's what it looks like. RL, though, showed minimal PCA shifts. It seemed to preserve the model's underlying knowledge structure much better across all kinds of tasks, math, reasoning, non-reasoning.
Okay, so RL keeps the general knowledge intact, preventing that catastrophic forgetting.
Precisely. While SFT seems to over-specialize the model so much, it damages its broader abilities, like teaching someone one skill so intensely they forget basic conversation.
That makes sense. Did they look at anything else?
They did. They also analyzed token distribution shifts, using things like KL divergence and looking at token ranks.
Okay, what does that mean in simple terms?
Basically, it looks at the model's output, the words it chooses. KL divergence measures how much the model's overall word choice pattern changes after training.
Like, does it start talking differently?
Exactly. And token rank shifts look at which specific words become much more or less likely for the model to use. It's another way to see how the training is affecting its fundamental behavior.
And what did that show? RL versus SFT.
Same pattern. RL models had much lower KL divergence. Their basic way of talking didn't change as dramatically.
More stable.
Right. And their token rank shifts were tiny compared to SFT. Like an average shift score of less than 1 for RL versus over 10 for SFT.
10 times more change with SFT. Can you give an example?
Yeah, they had a good one. Give both models a math problem. The RL model tweaks the probabilities of a few relevant words. Define, add, second, number, logical stuff.
Make targeted changes.
Exactly. Now, give the RL model a totally different task, like write a formal resignation email. It again makes small shifts just for relevant words like write, formally, maybe some formatting tokens.
Stays focused on the task.
Right. But the SFT model, on the math problem, it shifted tons of tokens, way more than needed. And on the resignation email,
what did it do?
It started bringing in math and reasoning-related tokens, words that had nothing to do with writing an email.
Seriously?
Yeah, the researchers called it unnecessary overthinking. It was like the SFT model was trying to turn the email into a logic problem, and it actually made the output worse.
Wow. So SFT causes this broad, messy shift that leaks into unrelated tasks.
That's the idea. RL seems much more surgical. It boosts reasoning where needed, but leaves the general language capabilities mostly undisturbed or even slightly improved.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, it seems pretty clear that just chasing math benchmark scores isn't enough. It doesn't automatically make LLMs smarter overall.
The how matters just as much as the what.
Exactly. The fine-tuning method is absolutely critical. This research makes a strong case that reinforcement learning is really important for building models that are both specialized and generally capable.
It helps them learn new tricks without forgetting the old ones. It avoids that catastrophic forgetting.
Right. And it seems to promote positive transfer, where learning math actually helps slightly with other things, too, instead of hurting them.
So this suggests we might need to rethink how models are typically trained after their initial pre-training. Less reliance on just SFT.
Potentially, yes. Especially using SFT with data distilled from other models. RL seems key for robust, generalizable reasoning that doesn't break everything else.
So for you, listening to this, it highlights that not all smart LLMs are smart in the same way. The training technique underneath really matters.
Definitely. And it raises a fascinating question, doesn't it? If RL, applied carefully, can make an AI more general even when training on something specific like math, what does that imply for us, for human learning? Could focusing intensely on one skill, but with the right kind of feedback loop, maybe something akin to RL, actually make us more broadly adaptable?
Learning one thing deeply with the right feedback might actually strengthen our general thinking muscles.
Maybe. It's definitely something interesting to think about.
A great thought to mull over. Thanks for breaking that down.
My pleasure. Fascinating study.
Indeed. That's all for this deep dive. Join us next time.